Santo class. I wasn't here last time. I was in Hart's location in New Hampshire at the Presidential Doll Convention.
You mean action figure?
Why do I always do that? Pat, you're not supposed to call me on that. But yes, I was there for the Presidential Action Figure Convention. Good news is, we've come out with the Obama line. Bad news is we haven't started on the Congressional line yet, which is really what I was hoping for, because this is a class where we care about Article 1, never about Article 2. This time we're going to talk about the New Hampshire races, and the next time we're going to talk about the results of the New Hampshire races. Can anyone tell me who's running for the Senate and the House up in New Hampshire? Yeah, we were talking about the Senate race between Governor Janine Sheehan and John Sununu, and in the House it was Carol Shea Porter versus Jeb Bradley.
That ass. I mean, Democrat is so arrogant.
Hey, at least my party's got something to be arrogant about this year. So do those two always do that? So, I know the readings really didn't cover it, but do y'all know anything about these people running in the New Hampshire races?
Well, in the Senate, Sununu is the youngest senator and one of the smartest. He went to MIT and Harvard. And he worked as a financial officer and a science engineer. I think he also comes from a political family.
Yeah, his father was governor of New Hampshire, and his father was 41's chief of staff as well. Typical inbred blue blood.
What?
Well, Sununu was first elected to the House in 1996 and in 2002. He ran for a Senate seat, beating Jan Shaheen for the first time. And as far as Shaheen, wasn't she the director of Harvard's Institute of Politics?
Yeah, and she worked with the presidential campaigns of Carter, Hart, and Kerry. And she served 3 terms as governor until running against Sununu in 2002, losing the Senate election.
Wow, y'all are good. My 310 class wouldn't know any of this. They weren't sure which party was more conservative.
The incumbent Carol Shea Porter was the first woman to be elected to national office in New Hampshire by beating out the incumbent Bradley in 2006. Before her political career, Porter worked as a teacher and a social worker, and before Bradley's House career, he lived in Switzerland and worked as a magician.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Pat, Google that real quick.
No, seriously, he was a magician. Most recently, he worked in the real estate business. Bradley was able to hold the New Hampshire House seat for 5 re-elections until retiring to compete for the U.S. House seat in 2002, maintaining it for 2 terms until losing to Porter.
So let's look at these demographics. New Hampshire is about 96.1% white. So we've got the white and the super white in this state. But what else about the state is different?
They have a large percentage of independent voters. In 2004, 32% identified as Republican, 25 as Democrat, and 43 as Independent.
Oh, yeah, the demographics of the district parallel the state.
It was the only state that changed from red to blue in the 2004 elections. Many attribute this to the independent nature of the voters. District 1 is also a highly affluent district, with the median household income and employment rate 10% over the national average.
So what's the political history of the state? New Hampshire has not historically elected Democrats to statewide office for nearly 2 decades, until 2004, when John Lynch captured the governor's mansion.
I really hope I never have to do a project with that guy.
Me too.
Besides that, the disapproval of the Bush administration in 2006, as well as Lynch's overwhelming popularity, helped Democrats capture both houses and upset Republican Bradley's run for the U.S. House. So what are the polls like? Where are my other students of the day? Allison, where are your notes? Where are your notes real quick? I can't read any of this.
I can go up there.
Okay.
Okay.
In the Senate, according to Rasmussen, it appears that Sheehan is currently leading 50 to 45. The New Hampshire Institute of Politics also shows Shaheen at 49 to 35. Interestingly, though, this is the very same poll that had Sununu leading 52 to 45 in late November. Although Sheehan's lead has fluctuated throughout the debates, the financial New Hampshire's current polling has Bradley leading 45 to 42, while independent poll analysts contracted by the newspaper Concord Monitor suggest supporters are edging Bradley by 1 point, 44 to 43%, although this is well within the margin of error. According to the UNH poll, Bradley has been slowly losing his lead to Porter, which I suggest is a trend that will also last until Election Day.
Wow, looks like you earned your point for the day. But from the readings, what kind of campaigns are the candidates running, and what issues are at the forefront?
In the Senate, she has repeatedly criticized Sununu for voting 90% of the time with the Republican Party. She has further attached his name to the current economic crisis and the failed policies of Bush. I would suggest that this has been a successful strategy to boost her numbers in the polls, and something we've seen across the country during this election season. Sununu's camp has responded with the claim that Sheehan votes strictly along polling popularity and has never strayed from her party on any issue. When Sununu brought up this issue in the most recent debate, Sheehan took a 7-second pause and shifted to energy policy, and I think this could serve to be her weak point. So, for the House, both Bradley and Porter are attacking each other's inability to work across the aisle, much like my good friend Charles and I. This was best demonstrated during their most recent debate. When asked by a panelist if they could please refrain from attacking each other, the answer from each candidate was basically no, and that the partisan bickering would not end.
Well, in the polls, it looks like Porter is ahead on Bradley, and Shaheen will maintain her lead, but what about the major issues?
Before the financial crisis in the start of October, energy acted as the largest issue in the campaign. Both candidates in the Senate took their party's standard platform in regards to energy policy. Currently, energy policy has taken a backseat to the pocketbooks of the voters in light of the economic crisis. Due to the state's strong libertarian tradition, Sununu's vote in favor of the bailout plan has been politically damaging in his race.
What do the finances look like? Where's my last student of the day?
Finances reports that FEC through September 30th of this year are very well in line with that prediction. In the Senate, Shaheen has accumulated $12.8 million, nearly double Sununu's $6.5 million worth of contributions. A similar trend is also evident in the House, with Porter's campaign finances at $1.24 million, nearly $200,000 over Bradley. The outlook appears increasingly favorable for Shea Porter, who stands to benefit from $2 million in DCCC advertising. That's 5 times as much as the NRCC is investing in the district. The fact that the incumbent is putting this much money into the race shows how qualified of a challenger Bradley really is. Keep in mind that as a challenger in 2006, Porter spent only $360,000 to Bradley's $1 million and picked up the race. This certainly proves that when incumbents spend more, they're not necessarily the victor, especially when facing a qualified challenger.
I predict that Porter will get 45 to 42, and that Shaheen will win 48 to 41.